Your customers won't always tell you the full story in a survey, but in person, you can watch it unfold in real time. Hi all, and welcome to Data Lens, the short series where we talk about market research in the outdoor hospitality industry. Today, I'm here with Scott Barr, the president of Cairn Consulting Group. With over 35 years of market research experience, Scott has a wealth of knowledge to share, and I'm asking the questions that you want to know. So let's hop in. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the power of in-person research, interviews, Q&As, and the insights you can't get online. So Scott, any initial comments or things before we hop in?
My initial thought is this needs to be part of the mix. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're researching, in person needs to be placed within the mix of what you're doing. It is absolutely essential to get the full picture.
Definitely. Do you ever feel like surveys only scratch the surface? And if so, what is the real story behind the face-to-face?
With surveys, it allows you to quantify. That's really the goal. It allows you to count, so to speak. For example, in many cases, people will count the number of people who show up at their parks. They will count the number of people who show up to their state for tourism. So there's a lot of counting going on. They'll count the number of people they think will buy their product, or the number of people they might lose to the competition. That's what it's giving you. And you can get measures that prop that up. You can ask the why does that happen? And you can ask that in the survey setting for all those things, whether it's a positive, bringing people in, or a negative, you're losing them. And again, you can use those to project. And it gives you a great deal of information about what's going on. And again, it allows you to quantify that so that when you're looking at strategies and the look forward, you can extrapolate maybe to the greater population. However, even though you might have those answers, some of those whys, you don't really have the context for some of these issues. You don't really have the emotion that can be associated with them. So just to kind of place that as the intro to this is that when you really want to dig into a topic, and when someone comes to you and asks why, this is where face-to-face research on the ground, however you want to frame it, comes in. This is where you can really dig in. Consider the conversation with your market.
Thanks for that input, Scott. So kind of moving along here. So how can in-person interviews uncover truths your spreadsheets can?
One of the things that, as I just mentioned, one, you don't get the emotion in a spreadsheet. You don't get that in a data file. You only get that by talking to someone. So say, for example, if you have a guest and they are dissatisfied with their stay, and you look, they're dissatisfied, but all the things you asked them were rated fairly high. None of them really stand out as a real negative. But maybe you see one, maybe that's down a little bit, that your check-in process. Check-in process was rated maybe a little bit lower. All right, so maybe you can say that person was dissatisfied because of the check-in process. But how much were they really dissatisfied? How much, and how do you place that into context? So what you get then is, if you ask that person, say you call them or you see them on site, you talk to them, maybe it's on the phone, but you ask them, it's like, from what you said, it sounds like you had an issue with the check-in process. Could you tell me more about that? And now they're going to tell you a story of what happened during check-in. That maybe the line was huge. It's like the line was huge and I had to stand there. I had 2 kids who were restless after driving for 4 hours to get here. There was nothing for them to do. They were just standing there waiting in a line. Maybe it was your staff member was grumpy. I think they'd been working too many hours that day and they were a little snippy with me. Or maybe it's, I asked for more information and they handed me a pamphlet. I wanted to know how to get to my campsite and they were like, look at the map. So in this situation, what is that that they were less satisfied with the check-in process, but now you know the story behind it by asking them, by having that face-to-face. You know the story. So now you, as the campground owner can implement changes. You can do something about that. Other than that, you're shooting in the dark. The check-in process seems to be okay. Things seem to be okay. We thought it was working well. Again, and maybe it was just that one night. And maybe that's what you communicate back to that person. It's like, you know what, we were short-staffed. Boom, come in next time, we're going to give you free firewood and ice or something. So now, again, because you're having that conversation with that person, one, the story behind it, and two, how you can maybe implement some service recovery with that person. So those are the things you cannot get from a survey. And that can apply to people who are super happy too. The opposite goes. It's like, wow, you seem really happy with your steak. Can you tell us about it? And so they'll say, your staff went out of their way to go the extra mile for us. They'll give you specific anecdotes. They'll tell you specifically what someone did to create a much more favorable experience for them. And now it's, wow, that staff member understands it. They understand hospitality. Let's get them out front on more guest interactions. Let's emulate what they're doing across the park because they're doing it the right way. So again, maybe your staff gets rated higher across the board, or maybe it's sporadic, but unless you ask someone, you're not going to get that information that really props it up and places it not only in the context, but also in a way that allows you to do something about it. Again, this in-person, on the ground, observational too is very similar. There's a lot you can get out of observing what people are doing and how people interact with your park, your accommodations, check in, check out, all those things. Just by simply observing too, you can see things that may not show up in a survey. And you may see things that a person does, and maybe they don't answer your survey. So now you actually have information on a person who you never would have had information from before. Same thing with doing on-site interactions and interviews with your guests, to sit down and have that conversation, maybe in a small group. But all these things are going to give you a depth of information that you cannot get from a survey. And I'm not bad-mouthing surveys because that's our bread and butter. But what we do is we make sure you have the full suite, so you get the full picture. And you can see why, and especially in an era where automation is such a larger part of that upfront guest experience, and even sometimes the on-site guest experience. It's easy to lose sight of some of these issues and things that can pop up for better or worse during the stay. So it's very important to use this, whether it's observational, whether it's active interviewing, or follow-ups to an actual survey questions. There's a lot of information that can be gained, and it's invaluable and it's necessary.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott, for that. That's great insight. Next question here. So what makes a live Q&A or a one-on-one session so much more powerful than an online form? I know you touched on that just a second ago, but can you just dive in a little more?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, it is, you get the tone from the person. The tone, how do they answer that question? And we all know what I'm talking about when I say tone, is how does that person frame their answer? And again, it's different when you actually hear it and observe it than it is to write it down or type it. You look, again, it's lost. And so, for example, in a lot of times in the form and the questionnaire, we'll ask open-ended questions so people can use their own words to describe a situation, but you still don't get the tone. You don't get that. The only way to get that is to talk to them. And that is so powerful. And that can impact how you respond to something. If you can pick up on those cues. So it is that approach and that type of response that's going to give you that extra bit of information that helps prop up your findings. And again, if you don't have that, it's just a piece of data. Now you have something that, again, going back to my initial point, that the emotion, that contact with people. And another benefit that we haven't really talked about, and we don't talk about enough probably, is the fact that you're actually talking to someone and interviewing them has a very favorable impact on how they view you and their experience there. The fact that you're taking the time to do that really impacts them. I've seen this. I've been doing this long enough to know that it does. And people will mention this sometimes. They'll come back and they'll say, yeah, I spoke to so-and-so on the phone and we had a great conversation about whatever topic it was. They'll tell their friends about it. It's, you know what, I didn't have a great experience there with one of the staff, but you know what, they followed up with me and we talked about it. And it's like, they seem really cool about it and they seem really committed to making sure that it won't happen again. And again, now you have a situation where a person may have told others, don't stay at your park because they have grumpy staff, to they had a grumpy staff member, but they've addressed it and they took the time to talk to me about it. Those things carry a lot of weight with people. They'll take that away from the interaction very favorably. It's unusual to have someone not have a favorable response to you asking them about their stay and asking them, what can I improve upon? What can I do differently? How can I make your stay better? All those things. And again, you get that. You get all those ancillary benefits from having that kind of interaction with folks.
That's a bunch of really helpful information. So thanks for that. Hopping in here to the next one. So Scott, how do businesses capture body language, tone, and emotion as usable data?
This is something that we all have in us to do. Watch your dog. How's that? Dogs are great at reading body language. Watch how your dog reacts when you go to grab your keys or grab your coat or grab their leash. Watch how they watch you and observe what you do. And think about that. What do I do that communicates to my dog what's going on, what my next steps are here, and how does it impact them, which is most important. So again, if you think about it from that perspective, is someone more open to you? Are they closed up? Which could mean they're holding back. Are they answering in really clipped sentences? Or are they sitting there, are they giving you a lot of detail? Are they going on? Are they, and even the most basic, do they ever smile or are they frowning? And how do they attend to what you say? How are they listening? Are they leaning in or are they leaning back? Are they opened up or are they closed in? All those really basic cues, think about that as someone's speaking with you, because it should guide you in how you approach that person. If someone's closed up and maybe turned to the side, you're going to need to work a little bit harder to get them to open up, because they're closed off and they're holding back on you. They're holding something back, and you don't want to come on too strong and say, "Hey, you're holding back on me." No, you don't do that. You talk to them. And you say, "Let's get into the topic here a little bit more." Now you open yourself up. Your body language is not going to communicate to them. It's, I'm open to your feedback. I'm open to you talking to me. Whether you're face-to-face in person or on a call recording like we're doing here, you can communicate those things, and people will communicate those to you as well. If they're talking in really short sentences, make sure that you're asking questions that are not yes and no. It's kind of the first rule of interviewing. Don't ask yes and no questions. Ask open questions. Don't ask, were you satisfied with your stay? And the person's going to say yes or no. And then you might follow that up. Instead, just open it up with, what did you like best about staying here? And then what did you like least? Really give me some detail. And if they're still closed off, get into it a little bit more. Like, how was the check-in process? What happened there? Tell me about what it was like when you checked in. What were you feeling when you checked in? How was it going when you guys were hanging out at the campfire at night? Did you feel comfortable? Was the bugs bothering you? Were the other guests bothering? Just have that conversation with them like you would anyone. But again, open yourself up and watch them. Just watch them closely and listen to what they say, and you'll pick up on that. And the more you do, the more you'll hear and see these cues. But a lot of them are it's pretty basic. And again, you don't want to force people. If someone doesn't want to open up to you, that's okay. Move on. Say thank you for your time. If you want to talk, here's my contact information. Here's how you get in touch with me, and leave it at that, because you don't want to force anyone to do anything they really don't want to do. And some people are uncomfortable talking about this stuff, so let it go. Just let it go. But if you have someone who really wants to talk, And believe me, most people will. They love to talk. Once you get them going, your biggest challenge will be to get them to slow it down, end it in a reasonable amount of time. I can't tell you how many interviews I've done with people and said this interview should only take 20 minutes, and 45 minutes to an hour later, we're still talking, and it's them doing all the talking. Again, those are the things, that you're looking for in your interviews. If you can record them, do that. Again, the recording can sometimes shut people down a little bit, but in my experiences, within a couple of minutes, they forget about it and they won't pay attention to it anymore once you get past the first couple of questions. If you can do that, if they're really opposed, don't do it. Just don't do it. Again, we're not trying to force anybody. Still do the interview though. You can absolutely still do the interview and take some notes and make sure you document what your conversation. Again, keep it open, keep it very conversational, and again, do what you can to document the interactions too, because that'll help. But you're going to pick up on those things. You do them a couple of times, because what you're going to do is you're going to start doing an interview and you're going to start thinking about all these things, and you're going to start thinking about body language. You're going to start thinking about tone, and you're going to pay attention to it. And that's how it happens. So now at the end of it, if the first thing you said in your notes at the end of the interview was, what was the tone of this interview? If that's the first question you had to answer, you're going to approach each interview a little bit differently. So again, if you think of that while you're doing an interview, that the first question you're going to answer for yourself is, what was the tone of this interview? Again, you will approach the interview differently. You will look at things differently. You will look at the person you're interviewing differently. Those are all things that happen. In many cases, they'll happen naturally. Again, once you do a few, it's like riding a bike.
Very interesting. And as you were talking there, I think something that kind of came up, almost a side question / note here, was it's almost like the type of question you ask or how you ask it can really impact how the person receives it as well. And so that can really impact your whole survey, the whole response, because you could ask two questions two separate ways. And if one is a little bit more almost invites a more defensive reaction, it's like you're going to get a very different response, even though it's the same question, just framed in two different ways. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the reasons that you try to keep things open is to avoid that. To start the conversation with the person is just tell me a little bit about your stay. How did it go? Just start the conversation that way. And don't come on too strong and say, we know you had a bad experience with this or whatever. That's not the way to start. Just let them use the questions as a way to generate responses. Don't lead them. Try not to lead them. What was the best thing you liked about your stay? That's a good question to ask. And then you say, what was the worst thing, if anything, about your stay? Tell me about that. And if they say nothing, then great, move on. And they'll probably volunteer something, but kind of keep them open. You're kind of leading the conversation, and it's okay if they get on a negative path. It's okay. Bring them back to the run to the positive by the end. By the way, always try to finish on a positive note. But yeah, how you frame your questions is super important. Again, don't lead them on. Let them really, you're going to throw out topics and you want them to respond to it. If you're talking more than them, then you need to reconsider how you're asking your questions. But again, nothing leading, very open, no yes or no questions, and keep it very conversational and casual.
Thanks for that additional input on that little side question there. Wrapping things up for today, and last question. So what real world decisions get easier when you step away from the screen and start listening in person?
Whether one of the things is how you're going to make, what changes you plan on making. Say, if we use a campground or RV park or glamping park as an example. Like right now, this time of year, a lot of people are thinking about what they're going to do for next year. And stepping away from the screen and going out and talking to people is a great way to help either reinforce what it is you're thinking of, or to maybe put some other considerations on the table. To go out and start talking to people, talk to other campground owners, operators, RV park owners, and so on. Talk to other people within the industry, within the business. Have those conversations. What went well this year for you? What didn't go well? Have those kinds of interviews with people across the industry. Talk to some experts in the industry. Those conversations are going to put into context and maybe present your ideas to people. To say, for next year, I was thinking of putting in a couple of yurts on site or a couple of safari tents. Ask your guests, ask some people in your areas. What do you think of this? Would you stay there? What would you need? How much should it cost? These are things that you're probably already considering. You might have some information already on, but have that conversation. You're now stepping away and you're having a conversation with real people. You'll talk to some park owners that are doing that kind of thing and see what they have to say. It's what do you have to offer in terms of advice and pricing, all those things. And how did this last year go? Again, ask them what went well for you, what didn't go well. And so now, and that's just one area. It could be anything. You're thinking of putting in a swimming pool. Talk to people who have swimming pools at their parks. Talk to some of your guests or potential guests or people in the area. Would you use a swimming pool? You think it's necessary here? We got a really nice lake, but it's like you can now, again, take your ideas out and test them a little bit in a different setting, which is you've now gone from the quantitative part and maybe done feasibility studies and so on to see, will this work, for me financially and the cost of development and operations and so on. But what do people really think about it? And you may get some ideas that float to the top that you never thought of before. People will tell you what works for them, what doesn't, what they'd like to have in an experience and what doesn't draw them in. And that right there is the benefit. You're gonna use real data, in your decision, but to fine-tune your decision, you're gonna prop it up with real-world conversations and interviews and interactions with people.
As always, thanks, Scott, so much for your input for today. And as always, thanks for joining us today for another episode of Data Lens from Cairn Consulting Group. Today, we covered the power of in-person research, interviews, QAs, and insights that you can't get online. Don't forget to leave a comment or a question for next week's episode. Hit that like button if you like what you see. And as always, subscribe so you never miss a thing. Have a great day, everyone. Later. Bye.
Bye.